Range. It's a huge factor with anyone considering an electric vehicle. In fact, it's the biggest deciding factor a lot of the times with how Tesla prices their vehicle. You know, do you want to prioritize range, the long range option, or do you want to settle with standard range, save some money, or do you want to opt for the performance package, which might end up hurting your range a little bit? It all comes down to range, because that's probably one of the biggest fears and one of the largest concerns people have with switching to an electric vehicle, because we are also comfortable with our gas vehicles. But I think we're looking at it very, very wrong, because electric cars are very different from gas cars in a multitude of ways, including range, and a lot of it has to do with infrastructure. And if you already have a Tesla, this video is probably going to feel very redundant for you, but a lot of the people watching my channel don't, including me. And I think a lot of people misunderstand range, and I don't think comparing an electric vehicle range to a gas car range is actually that fair. And I'm putting aside the differences of price, not to mention it's much cheaper to charge up an electric car versus filling up a gas tank, okay? I'm not even talking about price points or about saving money or tax credits or any of that thing. It's just about where the range is from, okay? There are people who go on road trips, in which case I think comparing gas cars to electric cars when it comes to range is a bit more fair, but that's not most people on the road. Frankly, most people driving on the road are driving from home, driving to and from work, picking up groceries, running errands, picking up the kids from school, or dropping them off. The average American at least drives around 30 miles a day, which isn't that much, but the biggest misconception I see with a lot of people that aren't very well versed in the EV space is people thinking, well, I could never drive an electric car because it simply does not go as far as my gas car. I don't really need to look at my driving habits or anything like that. It's just a pretty expensive car, and I don't want my next car to go less than my current car. Well, I can kind of get that logic at first, but the fundamental difference is the range of your gas car is determined from the second you pull away from the gas station. That time it takes you to drive out of your way and pick up gas and have to go back home is not factored into that range, because electric cars are not this way. It's a very backwards way of thinking when it comes to EVs to assume that, well, the only time I can charge my car is at a Tesla supercharger, or I have to find some charge point. Those are the only times I can charge my car, so basically replace gas station with EV charge station, and it's the same thing, right? Well, perhaps if you live in an apartment or in an area where you're not capable of driving your car, but that's not usually the case. Having a garage, or at least access to a power outlet outside, is fairly common in the US, and that's why I feel like the range of an electric car should be looked at as from the distance of your house, because if you're able to charge from home, and most people can, that range is not 250 miles or over 300 miles from the pump or from the charge station. When it comes to day-to-day driving, that's coming from the house. So my hope is that one day we can get to a point where range is not even something we really look at that much. That's what we've come to with gas cars. You don't really see it brought up too much with companies advertising gas cars. You know, they're not advertising, you know, the new Chevy Silverado can go over 400 miles on a full tank. It's like, no one cares. It's always about the miles per gallon. It's the cost savings, you know, how efficient is the vehicle, because we all really just kind of ignore the range of the car. We just want to talk about how much money it costs to support this thing. So when it comes to EVs, that's almost always going to be a winner. Even in the worst cases of electric car prices, it's almost always going to be cheaper to charge up a vehicle versus filling it up with gas. And people cannot fill up their gas cars from home unless you have just giant gas reserves on your property. I don't think that's most people. So when gas companies are always bringing up, you know, the miles per gallon, the efficiency of the tank, that's from a fundamental of caring about the cost of maintaining this thing. So, okay, if it has a really high miles per gallon, that means that I don't have to fill it up as much. But when we go on road trips and stuff like that, we don't even think about the range of our cars. I bet a lot of you who are driving gas cars currently aren't exactly sure what the maximum range of your gas car is today. It also affects how close you get to zero, because I think most people would be much more comfortable knowing that if they're on their way home from a big trip or something like that, or they're on their way home and the range is depleting a little bit, they know that as soon as they get home, they can plug in and they can charge. It's not, if I'm running on empty, I have to start looking for a gas station. It doesn't even matter if I go home first, because once I park my car in the garage, it's still going to be almost empty when I turn it on again. So I better get gas while I'm out and about before it's too late. And who knows, I could drive all the way home, but by the time I need to drive out again and find a gas station, then I'll run out of gas. So I think from an ease of mind perspective, the electric car still wins in that case. Like, believe it or not, I drive a Hyundai Sonata, which can get 450 miles on a single tank. That sounds pretty good, but if you consider the fact that when we arrive home and we have just an eighth of a tank left, we can't do anything about it while it's parked here. We have to find the time or wait for us to run errands and add that to the list of, oh yeah, yeah, we gotta stop at the gas station, which is a very demanding thing, both from a time perspective and from a hassle perspective. Just by like, oh yeah, we gotta go find one with prices we like. And oftentimes what's happened here is there's big lines of people at the gas station, so now we gotta go wait there, which is not the case with EVs. As long as you have some type of power outlet outside, it means that as soon as you arrive home, you can plug in, which is, by the way, how most people driving electric cars are charging them, and then you can plug in and you're at home, so, you know, you can relax, do whatever you want to do, watch a movie, go to sleep, and hours and hours and hours go by, and that car is being somewhat productive because it is gaining range, and your electricity rates, you know, are gonna be there. You can't really decide to switch to a different electric company depending on the prices, like when you go out, you know, looking for a gas station, trying to find one with the best prices. You don't have to worry about that. You just know that it's charging while I'm at home doing nothing, or maybe you're doing something, I don't know, maybe you're productive. You know that your car in the background is gaining range, and via your phone, you know exactly what your range is going to be at the start of every single day. You don't have that with a gas car. You kind of have to put it in the back of your mind of like, oh shoot, does it need gas? Maybe it does. Maybe I can let it sit out there on a quarter tank, but we probably need to get gas soon. With an electric car, you know you're gonna start out the day at a solid 80 to 90%. It's consistent. You can monitor it from your app. If you know you're gonna be taking a big trip the next day or something, you can increase it all the way to 100 if you want, but you don't have to go out and about and compare gas prices. And the reason I wanted to make this video was just because I still believe Tesla's biggest threat is tradition, and it's that traditional mindset of thinking of just, oh, replace gas station with charge station, that scares people away from switching to electric cars, which can be far more convenient and cost savings at the same time, but people don't really think that way. So, in other words, it would be kind of like if when the first cars were coming out, people were like, well, this will never work because I have a lot of hay at home and I feed my horse hay, and my horse is my main form of transportation, so since I can't feed hay into this vehicle and have it drive, it could never replace my horse. So, not interested in the car. Gotta change your way of thinking a little bit so that you can experience something far better. It's called adapting to the future, and I'd highly recommend it. Let me know what you guys think of my interpretation of range and how it should be considered very different for EVs compared to gas cars by hitting me up down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have an excellent day. Take care.